Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Give to Get. Today, we're going to be having a coaching session, and the coaching session today is around falling in love with your numbers so your numbers can love you back. This conversation, this coaching session today, is really going to be aimed at one, primarily business owners from that point of view, but to anybody that wants to, what I'll say, track their progress to understand how they're achieving or moving towards their goals, and one, ultimately wanting to accomplish them. And so I've got a philosophy that I talk about when I work with primarily, again, business owners about falling in love with your numbers so your numbers can love you back. And what I mean by that is the moment we start to track any kind of number, that number is going to improve. And I'm going to talk about that in just a minute. But before we even get there, I like to walk people through this analogy. Excuse me as I have some water here. So think of it, you're going to go to a professional sporting event, whether that be hockey, football, baseball, basketball, any of the major four from that point of view, without anybody telling you, without anybody coaching you, without anybody, what I'll say, directing you from that point of view. How many times would you look at the scoreboard? You know, during the course of a hockey game, during the course of a football game, during the course of a basketball game, you know, during the 9 innings of a baseball game, how many times would you look at the scoreboard? I'm going to venture a guess that you would look at the scoreboard a significant number of times, certainly double digits, 10 plus times at least. Well, why are we looking at the scoreboard? We're looking at the scoreboard to get a whole bunch of information. If we're looking at a hockey, how much time's left in the period? What's the score? Is there a penalty? What's the shots on net? If we're looking at basketball, again, what's the score? What quarter it's is? Is it the second quarter, which is just before halftime? Is it the fourth quarter, meaning it's the last quarter for the non-basketball people out there? How much time's left on the shot clock, which means they have to get the shot off before they have to give up the possession of the ball? You know, all of those pieces of information. If we're talking about baseball, how many runs in the inning, how many errors, what's the pitch count, what's the quote unquote count on the batter? Are we in the top of the inning, the bottom of the inning? Is there 4 innings left? Is there 6 innings left? Are we 3 innings in from that point of view? If it's football, again, what quarter is it? What down and distance is it? You know, all of those pieces of information help us, what I'll say, not only stay in touch with the game, but what's happening with the game. And ultimately, as we march down towards the end of the game, because it's time related, the sense of urgency goes up. Where I'm going with that is we go to these professional sporting events at our own free will. We sit there at our own free will, and without anybody really kind of coaching us, directing us, telling us, you know, sitting there saying you should look at the scoreboard. We look at the scoreboard a whole lot of times. How come? Because we want to find out that information that gets provided from the scoreboard. Okay. And this is where I say very specifically to business owners, but then to anybody that really wants to track their progress, what is your scorecard that you use in the business? What's the scorecard that you use to keep track of your goals? What's the scorecard that you use to keep track of your quote unquote running of the household? What's your scorecard that you track to quote unquote monitor your efficiency of your revenue coming in and expenses going out? Just you personally, whether you have a job, whether you're a business owner, whether you're quote unquote a 16-year-old who's got a part-time job. You know, how do you do that? And again, I've done this with all of my kids from that point of view, especially my youngest. She's really adopted it the best. Because the moment you start to fall in love with your numbers will love you back. And I'll keep citing that, and I'll go to that in just a moment. So where I'm going with that is, what's the scorecard that you have for yourself? And how often are you, what I'll say, looking at it? How often are you interacting with it? I'm going to talk about business owners right now specifically for the next few minutes, because I've interacted with hundreds of business owners over my 30 plus years of business coaching. And I'm going to say about 85% of most business owners are not in touch with their numbers on a daily, weekly basis. About 85%, about 15% of them are, okay? Which means they don't have a scorecard in the business that they look at on a regular basis. And they don't have any specific, what I'll say, metrics on that scorecard in terms of what are they looking at on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. Because if you're only looking at your numbers once a month and the month is over, because historically that's usually what we do as business owners, is we look at our month end from that point of view. Well, the month's already gone. There's nothing you can do about the month. If the month didn't come in the way you wanted, then there's nothing you can do. And typically by the time we look at month end, we're already into the next month, and we're dealing with all, I'll say, the challenges and or distractions that come with that month. So when you start to build a scorecard and you start to break it down and you start to get very specific, and now you're looking at it every week, now you can make changes. And the biggest reason why is you can't get that far off track in just a week. And you can course correct not only to get back on track the following week, but quite frankly, bring the month end in the way you want it, the way you anticipate it, i.e. profitable from that point of view. So let me talk first about the philosophies of falling in love with your numbers so your numbers love you back. Excuse me, Dr. Deming. Dr. Deming was an individual who brought what I'll say a continuous improvement philosophy actually to the American, what I'll say, industrial revolution back in the latter 50s, early 60s, maybe even what I'll say the early 50s to mid 50s. And back then we were just coming out of World War II or post World War II. The General Motors of the world, the Chryslers of the world, the Fords of the world, the Maytags of the world, the GEs of the world, all of the major manufacturers were going gangbusters. They literally were going gangbusters. They couldn't make enough product. They couldn't keep enough product. Their sales were going through the roof. Their profits were going through the roof, even though they had a lot of what I'll say inefficiency and waste, because they had quality control as opposed to continuous improvement. Where I'm going with this is Deming brought this philosophy to those, what I'll say, leading manufacturers in the US back in the day. This is going to be mid 50s, late 50s. And all of them basically turned their nose up at Dr. Deming and said, we don't need that. We're doing fine. Our sales are fine. Our profits are fine from that point of view. So what did Deming do? Well, he went across the ocean. He went over to Japan. Japan's economy got devastated, got decimated coming out of World War II. And they literally needed to rebuild not only their economy, but quite frankly, their country. And so he brought this philosophy. Who was one of the first people that signed up for it? Well, Toyota. Who was one of the second? Honda. Who was one of the third? Panasonic. Who was one of the fourth? Sony. And all of these major leading Japanese companies started to sign up for this philosophy. And again, we're talking about continuous improvement rather than quality control. Quality control is you produce a whole lot of whatever it is, and you pull the bad ones out at the end of the stream. But you never get to what I'll say, how to produce the good ones better, and you never get rid of the bad ones. You're just pulling them away and recycling them. Continuous improvement is looking at where the issue is and going back and finding it and fixing it so that it never happens again. And this is why Dr. Deming came up with the philosophy that any number you start to track, it will start to improve. And where I'm going with that from a financial point of view, you start to track your revenue is going to go up. You start to track your salary as an employee, your salary is going to grow. You're going to become very aware of it. Okay. You start to track your expenses are going to go down. You start to track your cost of goods sold are going to go down. You start to track your quote unquote profits, your profits are going to go up.
On a scale of 1 to 5, would you give yourself a 5 on achieving what you want in life? If your answer is anything less than a 5, right now, I have something awesome for you. Achieving your goals and living your life at a 5 isn't easy. Most people aren't prepared to focus, stay disciplined, and do the everyday work that is necessary to achieve amazing results. But since you're watching this, then I'm guessing that you're not one of those people. And this is an opportunity that will change your life. Give to Get is a global program that brings together world-class coaching and combines it with empowering masterminds and networking opportunities. We provide 5-star guidance for the price of a cup of coffee a day. To find out more, click on the link in the description of this coaching session.
And he, what I'll say, introduced that philosophy to the Japanese in the early part of the 60s. and they took it to an incredible level over the 60s, 70s, and I'll say into the early 80s. Okay. Well, what started to happen in the early 1970s? Toyota and Honda started selling cars in North America. They started selling cars in North America. And all of a sudden, the U.S. automotive manufacturers started to say, how can the Japanese buy steel from the U.S., ship that steel across the ocean, build a car with it, ship that car back to North America, and sell it for less money than we're selling a car for, and it's a better car, and make a profit on it? That's falling in love with your numbers. That's continuous improvement. That's having a financial scorecard, because continuous improvement is all about having a scorecard that you're checking in with that scorecard on a daily, weekly, monthly basis to ensure that you are making the progress that you want to make. And this is the whole philosophy that I like to bring to business owners primarily, and or individuals when I work with them, is what numbers are we going to be tracking so that you can start to fall in love with them and the numbers can start to go the way you want. So when I work with business owners, we always start on the financial scorecard. And what I mean by the financial scorecard, really 5 major numbers. What's going on with your revenue, what's going on with your cost of goods sold, what's going on with your gross profit, what's going on with your expenses, and what's going on with your net profit. Those are really the 5 big ones that we start to track on any particular financial scorecard for a business. Might be the same thing for a household, but a little bit different. And then we can start to track inventory, accounts receivables, accounts payable. And as we start to build this process by simply looking at it once a week for about 20 minutes, we start to find out what's going on in the business. I always like to say you want to fall in love with your numbers so your numbers will love you back, meaning you want to understand the story behind the numbers. The numbers are always telling a story, because what happens? Something had to happen first in order for that number to be produced. Okay. It's not that number gets produced and then something else happens. Something has to happen, in this case, in the business, in the household, that produces that number. Something had to be spent, something had to be bought, something had to be invested, some revenue had to be, what I'll say, earned in order to get to that number. And so as you start to look at what's going on with the relationship with the numbers and what's just going on with the numbers themselves, you can start to discern back from that point of view about what's going on. So you can start to make changes so that the number shows up differently the next week, the next month, and so on. Okay. The other reason and the value for the scorecard is the relationship that's happening between the numbers and where we are in the game. Again, let's go back to the sports analogy. Let's take hockey from that point of view. The sense of urgency in the first 5 minutes of the game is very different than the sense of urgency in the last 5 minutes. Why? Because in the first 5 minutes, I got another 55 minutes to play before the outcome is decided. In the last 5 minutes, I only have 5 minutes to play before the outcome is what I'll say decided. And that sense of urgency, we talked about motivation the other day, that sense of urgency can become a very powerful motivator to get us to do the things that we want to do, need to do, to impact that number the way we want. That's why and how, by falling in love with your numbers will love you back with that sense of urgency. And that's why it's so critical to have deadlines in the business, deadlines in the household, whether it be on a weekly basis or a daily basis or even a monthly basis, to follow up. And I'll be very candid, a month is way too far out. Okay, we need to be looking at these numbers on what I'll say a daily basis and or a weekly basis, because that's what's going to build the change. We say here and give to get all the time, inch by inch it becomes a cinch, yard by yard it's very hard. It's these incremental changes each and every day, each and every week that are going to, what I'll say, turn the boat in the direction that we want to go, turn the number into the direction we want the number to go. So the number starts to love us back. We first need to fall in love with our numbers. How do we do that? Well, this is a process that I do with business owners once a week for about 20 minutes. We have a very simple scorecard. We look at it every week, same time, all the time. So we're cutting the week off the same time each and every time. We're compiling the numbers, and then we're looking at what the numbers are telling us from week to week. And are they going in the direction that we want them to be going? And if they are, great. How do we keep doing that? If they're not, how do we stop that, and how do we turn it around? I was talking with one of my client owners the other day, I'm going to say Wednesday of this week, who was running an automotive parts business and maintenance shop. And literally in 4 months, they went from not being profitable to being profitable. And then 2 months later after that, they doubled the profits, and they've increased their sales as well too. And it can literally be that quickly when you start to get in touch with what your numbers are. Okay. So in the business, we always start with the financial numbers: revenue, cost of goods sold, gross profit, expenses, net profit. Once we do that in the business, we can build a sales scorecard, not only for the entire sales team, but each and every salesperson. I do that with a lot of my clients. We can build an operational scorecard. We can build an inventory scorecard. We can build accounts receivable scorecard. How quickly and how effectively are we collecting our money? One of the biggest things that hurts businesses is cash flow. I always say to businesses, if you've got good cash flow, but you're not profitable, you can stay open. You can keep that business running, and you can get to being profitable. If you're highly profitable as a business, but you've got poor cash flow, you can't get to tomorrow because the doors won't be open. You've got no cash. You need cash in order to, what I'll say, sustain a business. So it's very critical for businesses to look at their accounts receivable and say, how quickly are we collecting our money from that point of view? Because we've done the services, now we're billing. And if we take a long time to collect, that's impacting our cash flow negatively. Okay. Likewise, how quickly are we paying our bills too? That I literally call the gap between our accounts payable and our accounts receivable. Again, the more we fall in love with these kind of numbers, the more the numbers are going to love us back. Again, I like to use the analogy between accounts receivable and accounts payable, almost like a bathtub. And if I'm collecting my money in 30 days and I'm paying out in 45 days, that means I have a 15-day gap between my accounts receivable and accounts payable, which means I have 15 days of quote unquote cash, hot water, one might say, sitting in the bathtub to enjoy a nice hot bath, meaning I've got some cash reserves if all of a sudden something happens and my tap gets turned off on my accounts receivable. A lot of times we start to do this with business owners, and what we find out is business owners are paying their accounts payable before they're receiving their accounts receivable. So they're actually, what I'll say, running the business with no water in the bathtub. And that's a very dangerous place to be. Why? Because they're not in touch with their numbers. And so the more that you can start to do this, again, in your business, on the financial numbers, on the sales number, on the operational numbers, on your accounts receivable numbers, on your accounts payable numbers, on virtually any and every numbers from that point of view that you want to track in the business, you will start to see progress in the numbers. Okay. And this holds true for everything in life. That's why I say this works for an individual if somebody's watching that as well too. People that have worked with me know very clearly, I say it all the time. You want to lose weight? Simply step on the scale every day and weigh yourself. Forget what kind of diet you're on. Forget what foods you can eat and can't eat and stuff like that. And I'm not subscribing to don't eat healthy, and I'm not subscribing to, overeat or anything else like that. You can do all of that as well too. But if you simply want to lose weight, step on the scale every day. All you have to do to lose weight is step on the scale every day and track your weight. Start to track your weight on a daily basis. Physically record it, whether it be on your phone, whether it be in a spreadsheet like Excel, but physically track it every day so you can look back to see where you started and where you come. And I'll be very clear, it's not going to be a straight decline like this. You're going to have ups and downs like that, but overall, the trend will be going down simply by stepping on the scale. So now, if you're going to do this, again, there's system structure processes that need to come to place. We talk about it with the business owners. We cut the week off the same time. We look at the numbers the same time every week because that gives us consistency. but that also gives us a predictability because we're looking at it the same time every week. If you want to lose weight, and I'm going to say step on the scale every day and track your weight, step on the scale the same time every day. If that's 7 o'clock every morning, just after you've worked out, just after you've had a shower, do it every morning at 7 o'clock. If it's quote unquote 10 o'clock at night, just before you're going to go to bed, then do it every night at 10 o'clock. It's got to be consistent. If you're stepping on the scale 7 o'clock one morning, 9 o'clock the next morning, 10 o'clock the next time, it's not going to have the impact. Why? Because there's too many variables that are going on during your day. But if you want to lose weight, step on the scale the same time every day, track your weight every day, you'll automatically lose weight. Your mind will automatically start to adjust to where you'll either eat less or you'll eat more healthy or you'll do a combination of, and you'll start to quote unquote lose weight. Simple as that. Okay. You want to start a workout program. You want to get in shape. Great. Do it every day. Start with 5 push-ups and track your 5 push-ups every day. And once all of a sudden 5 push-ups becomes something that you can do each and every day, go do 10. And once that happens, then go do 15 and then go do 20 and then go do 25 and so on. Okay. Before you know it, you're going to be doing 400 or 500 push-ups a day. And guess what? Simply by doing 400 or 500 push-ups a day, you're going to be in phenomenal shape. Somebody who does 400 or 500 push-ups a day could be in phenomenal shape. How did you get there? You didn't start by doing 100 push-ups. You started by doing 5. Inch by inch, it becomes a cinch. Fall in love with your numbers. Your numbers will love you back. Okay. And that's what we do as coaches, is to help you get there. The other side of this as well too. Excuse me, let me have some water. The other side of this is, as you start to get comfortable with this, you can start to add more things that are going to even help that number go in whatever direction you want from that point of view. Why? Because that's what happens once you start this process. As you start to, what I'll say, move towards your goals and your numbers start to move in the directions you want, and you're falling in love with your numbers, guess what happens to your excitement? Goes up. Guess what happens to your joy? Goes up. Guess what happens to your energy? Goes up. So guess what happens to your creativity? Your creativity goes up. And because your creativity goes up, you have more ideas that start coming to your mind on how to do something, how not to do something, how to change something, how to stop something, how to start something, how to, what I'll say, revise or refine something so that it gets better. And guess what happens? An even greater impact in the numbers. So simple little philosophy, whatever. And we can track literally whatever you want. How much water you drink in a day, how much food you eat in a day, how much you work out in a day, what your revenue in your business is a day, where your expenses are going, how much spending you're doing a day. I'm a little bit OCD on this, and I think OCD is a good thing because you start to track all of this. I've done it in my business for years. I've done it in my life for years. You become very aware of what's happening. You become more consciously competent, your self-confidence goes up, and you become highly aware of, quote unquote, where you're spending your time, where you're spending your energy, where you're spending your thought patterns, and are they, what I'll say, moving you in the direction that you want to do. All because of a simple philosophy: fall in love with your numbers and your numbers will love you back. You first have to start to fall in love with your numbers. How do you do that? Start to become aware of what those numbers are, whatever that number is that you want to track from that perspective. Okay. Hope this helps. Have a great day. Take care, boomers. Bye-bye.